It's almost time. You're going to see some fireworks here very, very shortly. And what does that mean? We're going to tell you tonight what it means in the football world. Outside of JPP, there are some good things that happen after the 4th of July, but we'll get to that. Welcome back, everybody. It's Monday Night Live here on RGR Football. It's your show. You're running this joint. We're just answering the question. So welcome. If you're just joining us now, or if you haven't joined us yet, make sure you like, sub, and hit that bell. People roll in here, it's a holiday week, kind of a weird day. I got something recorded for you yesterday. I know it wasn't technically live at the time, but got a lot of good responses. I hope you guys had fun with it. Dan is the man, and he's been very, very busy. This is Dan Harms. How are you, Dan? You holding up?
I'm doing all right. It's been a very busy day, and I know most people cook on the 4th of July, but it's Tuesday. It's a Tuesday. I'm just today feels like a Sunday for me, and tomorrow's my last day. My wife's going to be on leave, and we just don't want to do anything tomorrow. So I'm not cooking tomorrow. I did all that today.
Yeah,
all of it.
Good for you. Okay, so give us the menu rundown, will you?
All right. So I know that there is somebody in here who just came in to see what I did. See, Jeremy, appreciate you. And like I said, not doing anything tomorrow. So today was a full slate of food. I had the pork shoulder on since this morning. It was a little smaller one. I didn't need to get crazy with it. Just me and my wife and my daughter. So just like a 3-pound pork shoulder. It was on for like 6 hours, and it still didn't get to the point where I wanted it. So we're going to try next time a little bit earlier, but still the flavor. I just used some wood smoked garlic and paprika seasoning for it, and then just sprayed it with apple juice and apple cider vinegar every 45-ish minutes. Best flavor I've ever had. Then I did a deluxe cornbread with like onions and bell peppers and some jalapenos in there. It was a little wet, which I wasn't really expecting for a cornbread. So if you're into that kind of thing, it was good. I also made some smoked deviled eggs, and I also baked some orange spice cupcakes filled with cream and topped with an orange spice frosting. So it has been a day.
Wow, you had me up into the baked word. You said baked, it lost me completely. Dang, dude, that's bacon. Impressive. Can I ask you? Is it did you use the smoked garlic rub from Kinder's? Is that your base?
I did. That was the base that I used for this. It was fantastic.
It's great. I use that as a base on a lot of mine. I actually do it on chicken too, and it goes really well. That's awesome. Well done. Folks, so Dan will make his debut. Chef Dan, the channel, is coming at some point. He's a lot more advanced than me in some ways. So I enjoy learning from you as well, Dan.
It's fun. I have a lot of fun trying new things. So, yes, thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all the fun support with me being a quote-unquote chef. But I love to cook and I love to bake. I just love to eat, honestly. It's what it's all about.
Yeah, my gut shows that too. So those of you who met me in person, you understand. I'm not shy of what I'm eating as well. Hello to all of you. Some of our mods are here. Gary's here. FLDB is here. Everybody give them a hand. They'll be helping you out in the chat if you need it. Honestly, when it's just Chiefs Kingdom around here, it's usually pretty chill. A lot of Bengals fans wanted to hit me up yesterday for how dare I make Pat Mahomes out to be like the second coming that he is. Oh, wait, there's all this video evidence. That's why. So we're going to get to your opinions and everything. But that's what I wanted to talk about. I want to elaborate on what I talked about last night. If you missed it, go back and check that out. I know most of you are sub, but if you're not, go ahead and click that sub now. And it comes down to this. This is kind of the delineation point for most of the guys in the NFL, whether you're coaches or players. The front office guys are probably filtering back into the front office already. But the players and coaches, after this holiday is kind of the turning point where everybody starts hitting the field again, not necessarily to run routes or anything else, but to get in shape. This is like the final run up to camp. The next 2 weeks after 4th of July are generally when the players get it. They may have even already started because Chiefs camp is a little early this year. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple of things that go on, and I talked about this with Mac Derrick today over on Locked On Chiefs. You can see that here coming up later tonight. But the key thing is the conditioning test is coming, and especially for the dudes who've never been through a training camp, it's tough. Yeah. And this is kind of the point. They have to take that time to train and get ready and get their feet under them. because it's all systems go from the day they get to camp. Rookies report on the 18th. They'll be on the field the next day, and boom, we are off and running. And there's only one goal, and it's going back to that Super Bowl and winning another one. That's the hard part. And I think everybody's watched the whole offseason. They've gone through the whole 9 yards. We've watched the offseason probably more than we ever have before. But I know we're focused on a return trip and what it's going to take. I know the team's focused. So my question to you is, I'm feeling confident now. I'm not going to make my season prediction yet. I won't even ask you, Dan, but like just year to year, after last season, losing Tyreek and everything, where are you feeling right now as we hit the 4th of July weekend or holiday about the team?
I feel more confident in everything that they do, more so than I ever have before. Yep. When you watch a team win the Super Bowl, with Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark at the existence of his powers in Kansas City, and Travis Kelce, all those guys, those superstars. You watch that happen, and then Tyreek Hill, is traded away. Tyrann Mathieu's not there anymore. They have to find different ways to do it, and they went and just built a young, fast, talented team, and they won the Super Bowl last year with that team. That shows you, at least it shows me, that they can win in a multitude of ways. And the fact that they won this Super Bowl on the back of Patrick Mahomes' largest quote-unquote contract at the time that it was extended, that's how you know that they're in this for the long haul. Teams always have a struggle after they win that first Super Bowl, either getting back to the Super Bowl or making it work after they sign the quarterback. It doesn't typically work. Tom Brady's in a different, just a difference maker. Yeah. It's a little bit different with that guy, but everywhere else they struggle. Look at Aaron Rodgers, even a little bit of Ben Roethlisberger to an extent. He didn't really get back after he signed his big contract. You see a lot of other quarterbacks that they go there, they win, or they get there, and then they just don't get back. So the fact that not only the Chiefs have been back to the Super Bowl twice since they won the first one, they did it on Patrick Mahomes' contract that it currently stands. It shows you that they have figured out how to build this team, how to get the most out of the players that they have. And at the end of the day, that shows the most confidence that I can possibly give in the front office, the coaching staff. Speaking of the coaching staff, I'm going to be doing a video this weekend. We're going to have some apologies to hand out. I think all of us kind of need some apologies handed out for a specific member of the Chiefs coaching staff, which we're going to do on Wednesday. So they got a plan. They have built this blueprint out, and it's working.
And that's what it comes back to, keep going, build your plan, adjust your plan when it doesn't work, but they've had a lot of success, and there's no reason to feel like they shouldn't continue that going forward, and just continues to renew my confidence. I think that's the piece that we should be at right now as we prepare for the season from out here, and the players prepare for the season from out there. We just all have to keep. We're gonna get tied up, folks. We're gonna get lost in the Justin Ross thing. We're gonna get lost because I think it's going to be interesting. It doesn't look like Pacheco's going to start camp because of the recovery from the injuries. Oh. So a pissed off Clyde's going to be in position to still be the number one coming out of camp. I think that's going to be a fight. So we're going to have all these stories that distract us. It's all going to take us in a bunch of different directions. But at the end of the day, it's about getting back onto that field and going after another Lombardi trophy. And I think Andy Reid's the best at keeping guys in that space despite everything else. So I will attempt to do that as well. I will get sidetracked, I guarantee you, but I will do my best to not let it go too far. That said, I do want to give you guys, let's see if I can pull it up. I'll give you a peek at something I just finished and released today. Available now. Don't laugh at me, Dan, because I think you're going to dig them too, but we'll find out. I didn't even tell Dan about this beforehand, folks. I just kind of laid it on him because, that's what I wanted to do tonight. So here we go. Take a look. Got a new 87 for Prez line out there, and it's all Chief colors now.
Nice.
and it's a little bit more. It's not
That's
as so Miami Vice as the last one, right?
That's beautiful. That's
Nice.
beautiful.
I went all white for camp. So you want to make Travis Kelce laugh in the autograph line? Go wear one of these in front of him. It should be pretty entertaining.
Oh, man.
Also have the backside of some of them. Have my second favorite here. Creed running the KC Secret Service is available as well. So I love the format of them. So I started tinkering, and it took me a couple of weeks to be like, what should I do? Well, that's what I decided to do. So there's all kinds of new stuff in the store. Go check it out. I think you guys will get a kick out of it. But
this is great. Like these guys would love these. They would love them.
I should probably just send a box to the locker room one day.
Honestly, you should.
What they can get. So hey, you'll see Dan and I wearing the NFL 33 stuff here soon, I'm sure. So if you guys are into it, check them out. I appreciate your support and rolling with us because I love doing that stuff in the spare time. So that said, that's all excitement about where this team is going and a couple of the guys out front to do it. I love the Secret Service concept, by the way, because really there's nothing more important to this roster than protecting Patrick. And I think you guys know that. So we're going to get into, and I'm not going to dwell on it, we'll get into your questions here in just a second. We have a ton of them in here already. I just want to say hello to Jeremy and Night Hunter and Preachers. Kevin, Papa Bear's in here. Hope you're doing well. And a bunch of the old G's around here. So hope you guys are doing good. And we'll get after it. Steve Harold was first in tonight. How do the Chiefs improve their run defense on first downs? What is your plan if you're Spags or Joe or both of them?
Honestly, last year they got much better at just defending the run altogether. They were much better than they have been at any season under Steve Spagnuolo last year, and that goes to show you the players that they have were working a little bit better. They really got beat up sometimes when they were coming out in their nickel or dime sets a little bit early on those non-necessarily obvious passing situations. You go back to the Bengals game where they had Mike Dana playing at like 3-tech nose guard a little bit too much. They got ran on a lot in that game in the regular season. So figuring out the guys you want to have in there now that you've got Kendrick Coburn to pair with a little bit of Derek Nottie, it's going to be a little bit harder to move some of these guys out. You're going to be able to rotate in Tershawn Wharton a little bit to give you some more speed juice against the run. And honestly, it's going to come down to the defensive ends getting better at defending the run. Tackles can do a lot. They now have Coburn. Chris Jones is a good run defender. I'm sorry that people don't think he's a good run defender. He's a good run defender. He's just sometimes he just doesn't necessarily get to the right spot, which is fine. It happens. But I think at the end of the day, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him taking some chances because he's going to get those tackles for 5-6 lost sometimes. So I think it comes down to the defensive ends have to be better at holding up against some doubles and against some of these tackles that are going to be stronger. They have to be able to hold that line, force running backs back inside to where the teeth of the defense is. But at the end of the day, Spags don't care. Spags does not care at all.
I mean, at the end of the day, it all comes down to what I was going to say. If I just had to put it in one sentence, Steve, they have to act like they give a rip. That's what it comes down to. Okay. Because at times you saw that, and they're going to rotate. This is going to be an interesting, and unfortunately, it might be a little bit undersized defensive front this year.
Yeah.
Amanda Hughes lean, man. He's got the length, but he's lean, and he's not carrying 290 pounds with him, right? Same thing with Mike Dana, like you were saying. And so it depends on what the alignment is. And I think what they have to do a little bit better job at is on the coaching side, is recognizing, is this team going to stick with that? Are we going to be able to have to bear that for a quarter, for a half, before they get away from, before they're down enough points that they have to throw all the time? So it's about like executing aggressively. I would like to see a little bit more gap stunning so that it is trying to turn and take the guards in particular into a gap and make them turn their shoulders and allow those linebackers to come downhill. That's what I'd like to see. But again, how many teams are going to be able to do that? That's going to be the question, because most of them are going to fall behind rather quickly.
Exactly. And that's why at the end of the day, you get a couple of first downs with the run, and then they get a tackle for loss. And guess what? You have to continue that that drive. You can't punt back to Patrick Mahomes and then they start throwing the football. That's all Spags wants to do. He wants these guys to get one TFL or one tackle for no or one gain and then force them to catch up, because now the strength of this defense is the coverage. They are a much better coverage defense than their numbers showed last year.
I think that's going to really take a step forward too. I'm more excited for Jalen Watson this season than I was for L'Jarius last season, because L'Jarius had already made a big jump, right? Like he'd already become a very, very good player. But now Jalen, I particularly want to see how does he make the next leap? He's the guy I'm waiting on. Steve, thank you for being here. We make this content for you guys. Otherwise, Dan and I would just sit around drinking beers online together. It would be very boring for everyone else. So
not a bad plan for us, but at the same time, I love that you guys are here talking to us and being with us. It's fantastic.
It is. And you guys make it worth it. So thank you. Absolutely. Jackson, you as well. How worried are you guys about KT going into the season as wide receiver 1?
Yeah. There it is. That's the answer right there.
I mean, I think he can play 14 or 15 games and still break 1,000 yards is my thought. So am I worried? I won't say that. I'm building in some expectation that he's going to miss a game or two is my thought. How about you?
I think you have to. You have to assume that he's going to miss some time. So at the end of the day, I'm not worried about him going into the season as wide receiver 1, because the talent speaks for itself. The only question that anybody has is, can he stay on the field? That's the only thing. I know that there were some questions in New York with his mentality and the way that he approached practice, because apparently he didn't show up at practices for the New York Giants. That is, by all accounts, not been an issue in Kansas City. He has been a team guy. He has been active. He has been doing everything he possibly can to stay on the field and be impactful. So, again, I don't have ears and eyes and ears inside the locker rooms, but we've seen video of him already in locker rooms, like having fun with the team, like being kind of jovial. That kind of stuff doesn't happen if you are trying to duck out of practices. People don't want to be around you if you don't want to be around them. Like, that's just kind of how this whole thing works. So in terms of his on-field practice and culture, it feels like this is a good place for him to mature and take his game to the next level.
I agree with you completely. And when you think about it, the guy's got a lot of talent, right? He always has. And clearly there's a lot of excitement around his game. But take a wider look at what he's dealing with, right, on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
You have a Hall of Famer at quarterback, and you have a Hall of Famer at tight end, and you could be the guy right behind them. You could be the next dude in that trio.
Yeah.
So living up to that expectation in that room, in that same meeting room where you have to hold your own, I think that's a challenge to anybody with that much talent, that you want to show that, and you want to show that I belong with this group. Tyreek Who should be plastered on everything that Kadarius Toney wears, as far as I'm concerned. You know, that's got to be his mentality. I'm guessing it is because of everything that you just said. Fitting in, making sure that you're there. He had some legitimate injuries during last season, but this offseason he's been there the whole time. Hasn't missed a practice. He was down in Dallas. He's done everything that from this point of the year that you can do to make sure that you're available and you're hanging in there with those guys that you're trying to live up to. That's gold as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Miss Brenda, welcome. Glad you made it tonight. Nice to see you.
How you doing, Brenda?
Clinton object the other tight ends production past Kelsey. And everybody, thank you. And thank you, Clinton. We appreciate your support.
Yes.
Everybody who sends a super chat gets an answer tonight. We'll take your topic. We're going to be a little bit more mellow tonight. I won't take too long, Dan, though. I promise we'll be out on time. But every super chat gets one. So if you want to support the channel, it's the easiest way. It's super fun, and you're right here in the thick of it with all of us. So this is a tough one, and I'm going to be stubborn. I'm going to let you go first, and then I'll tell you what I think.
That's fine. So yards-wise, I think that Noah Gray is going to have the most yards behind Travis Kelce for tight ends. I think he's going to have around 250, 275 yards. Nothing crazy because they don't really pass a ton to their other guys. I think Jody can be right close to that with 200-plus yards, but he's going to have 7 to 10 touchdowns. I think that's the big thing for me, is that I think Jody Fortson can get If he's healthy, put the asterisk there, put it
Sure.
there, because I will not come back to this in October and November and say, you said he was going to have 7 touchdowns. If he's healthy, I think he can get 7 touchdowns pretty easily. I think he was on that pace last year. So I think that that's something they want to use more, specifically in the red zone. He didn't even need to be. We saw him catch a 40-yard bomb down the right-hand sideline off a wheel, a jet motion wheel. So he can be used in a lot of different ways. If he's healthy, he's going to be the tight end too. And then he can really overpass Noah Gray's yard production. But I think those are the only guys that are going to be relatively useful. Noah, probably, I think he can get 2 touchdowns this year. It'd be nice to see him score a couple of receiving touchdowns, not just be used on a sneak for a score. It'd be nice to see him catch a couple of receiving touchdowns. But I don't see Noah Gray, a Blake Bell being anything other than your QB sneak guy.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. We're not that far apart. I have Jody Fortson being the leading receiver after Travis at the position. I have him at 406 touchdowns. So not quite as many.
406 touchdowns. 406 touchdowns. That's a lot there.
No, that's a ton. That's more than the best Madden year I ever had. No, 400 yards and 6 touchdowns is what I'm thinking, because I do expect that he's going to be healthy. I'm putting it out on the line. This is do or die for him. I mean, he's perpetually in a contract year, so I don't know that that's that much motivation. But you've seen him be more active and more vocal in everything that's gone on this year in this offseason, training with Patrick, getting himself back in shape. I'm going to make the bet that he's going to break the 400-yard mark. And I think I feel bad now that I was underestimating him at 6, but I hope that you're right. I'd love to see 8. That'd be great. I do think that you could see a sneak from Bell. I want to say that Noah upticks too, though. I don't know. I'm going to say 5. I'm going to say 4 for Noah.
Okay. I'd like to see him get that many. I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen because we haven't seen the usage. We haven't seen the usage. So that's my only thing. If they use him as that like wide tight end and the fullback tight end, I could see him leaking out and catching a couple more. I really could.
I mean, imagine him doing the wheel thing that Burton and Sherm had success with. I mean, that should be a mismatch. And I'll tell you this. If teams continue to come out and dime constantly, Andy's got to go back to that trip set of all tight ends with those 3, because it's just matchup hell for defenses. You can't try to tackle. You can't fight through a block from Travis Kelce or Jody Fortson just to take down Noah Gray and be successful at it time after time after time. It will work.
Yeah, so, and I think Isaiah Pacheco could also approach 10, 12 touchdowns. I really think he could, with the way defenses are just going to be like, well, Patrick's going to destroy us if we don't just play off. And Andy will be just fine handing the ball off.
I hope so. And that feeds right into Gary's question. Will third down runs be better? And I have to think that they will. The real question to me is, can you do they're not even really draws. They're more delayed handoffs that they used to do with Jamal, right? Can you do that with Pacheco or with Clyde? I don't think Clyde's explosive enough to really pull that off well. Pacheco might be. If they pick up somebody else that's an explosive accelerator, you could do it that way as well. But I feel like third down is probably been underutilized when you get that drop 8, and I think they're going to see it again.
Yeah, the short distance third downs, I don't think are going to get better this year because your offensive line got worse in the run blocking department, which kind of comes into one of the questions that I just saw over here. Where is it?
What's up, Mark? While he's looking, just want to say hi.
While I'm looking, either way, but the run blocking did get worse. There it is, Brent here, right there. So how concerned should we be that tackles got worse run blocking? So we'll go ahead and put both of these in here. Thank you for that question, Brett. Do appreciate it that it kind of worked right into what we're going to talk about right now. So don't want to leave you behind, but we're going to talk about it all at the same time. So it's tough to be hard-nosed football team when you did get worse at run blocking. You did. There is, I would imagine you got maybe marginally, maybe the same at right tackle, maybe the same with Juwan Taylor and Wiley. I think you may have maybe just kind of switched out players there in terms of run blocking. Juwan Taylor probably has better upside in that regard. And Smith, we have to kind of assume that last year was all based on injury. We have to assume
Yeah.
all of it was.
Yeah.
And that's the
We
thing.
have to
Is
hope
we
so.
don't really know. We'll find out. And if he is healthy, he gets better. It's still a step down from Orlando Brown in the run to blocking department. It's just not as big of one if he's not, if he's a little bit healthier and better because of his health. So you're not going to run a ton more power, I think. So it's more about getting off the ball and kind of having the mentality that no one thinks you can run the ball in these situations. And a lot of teams approach it like the Chiefs can't, and they proved that they couldn't. I think the mentality speaking wise, they have to be better this year at doing that and getting off the ball. I think not having a fullback, unfortunately, will help that. And I said unfortunately to Ryan, because whenever Michael Burton comes on the field, everyone knows it's fullback dive. And it never worked last year. So we're going to see some different things, I think.
I'm gonna put an asterisk on that for you, because I would argue, I think you hit it there in the second part of what you were talking about. I think it's about scheme, because I think they've improved in running wide zone by the players they have. So I think they could be more effective and be a plus if they go back to doing what Andy wants to do more, and that is run wide zone until they make it stop. And then you dump it over the top of it.
I would say that defenses nowadays are more equipped to stop that wide zone. We're seeing the downtrend of like outside zone because defenses are more spread out. They can get to it easier. I think that inside zone, which is another thing Andy really wants to do, they want inside or outside. Doesn't really matter. Whatever the defense is going to let you do, that's what Andy's going to run. So I think the inside zone might end up being a little more fruitful for them this year.
Yeah, it might be. I think really what it's going to come down to is, like you said, like the desire, the attitude to go do it, because running zone run offense is what Andy likes. It's what they've always wanted to do. And I feel like they got away from it because of Orlando. I feel like they went to it because maybe a little bit because of Trey too, because Trey's feet weren't the greatest coming out of college. I think he's improved that. I think that's still one spot that he can improve more, and he can get to an all-pro level, because I do think that he has made some steps forward in that case. But if you just go back to doing what you're good at, you know what I mean? Like it almost felt like they were trying to shoehorn the power in that wasn't really their thing.
Yeah.
And now I think if you relax and you just do what you know how to do, maybe they'll be more successful at it.
I hope so.
I do too. Rob, welcome to the memberships. Nice to see you. Love the avatar, by the way. Might be one of my favorite ones. For those of you that enjoy the memberships, make sure you get in there. I'm going to do a member video for you this week. That's just for you guys, so I can actually say, as though we were sitting around a bar stool here. You'll hear some cuss words. If you don't dig that, my apologies. But that's what you get in the memberships. You get the Discord in the memberships. You can hang out with FLDB and Steve Keys and all the folks that are here all the time for us over at Rogue Nation. And that's the Discord name. You can go check it out now. But if you become a member of the rookie level or above, you can just connect your account to your Discord account. You're in like Flynn, you get the whole 9 yards. There's all kinds of drops. All the new gear drops in there immediately. All the videos drop in there immediately. It's kind of one-stop shopping for those of you that are the real rogues out there. So welcome to Rob, and I hope more of you guys will check that out as well. Jackson, look at the Eagles roster. It looks like they have a lot more unknowns, and it looks like they're taking too many risks that they will need for them to pay off. Do you agree with that?
I don't know if it's a bunch of risks. I think that they have turned over a little bit like the Chiefs had turned over, and they put their bets into players that fit what the coaching staff wants. And I think that when you're extending your quarterback like they have, the Chiefs did as well, they're putting it in the hands of their coaching staff to say, what players do you want? What players do you think you can get the most out of? I think they have some holes that are that they have some questions that they'll see this year, but at the end of the day, they still have one of the best, if not the best, offensive lines in the NFL, albeit aging. That's something they're going to have to address going forward. But I think at the end of the day, their defense is going to be just as good as it was last year, maybe a little tip off because Gannon's not there. But top down, their rosters are extremely solid, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have to say, like, I understand where you're coming from, Jackson, that they have gotten young in some key positions. But but I think the risks that they've taken have been well educated. I have to say that particularly drafting, I think they've done a hell of a job in identifying talent and maneuvering to get it. You're going to look at, I think before this year is over, whether it's due to age or whether it's due to just rep limits, I think you're going to see a significant number of snaps where you have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter on the line together, just like they were at Georgia, and they're going to dominate. And that's a combination you can't get that well, especially with Nakobe Dean backing them up now. Nolan Smith on the outside. I mean, from the last 2 national championships, you have half of their front in Philadelphia. I feel like that's maybe the most sound investment that we've seen a team make in following who's the most successful at the college level.
Yeah, it's just tough, man. And honestly, I think we forget already that the Georgia Bulldogs had one of the best defenses ever in the history of college football. In the history of college football. So they know what they're doing with that defensive line, and the fact that they continuously put resources into their offensive line and defensive line is going to keep them successful because of that. They have done a fantastic job of turning over whatever it is because they consistently put a ton of resources into it.
I agree. I will say this. I don't feel like Tyler Steen is a great fit for them. Excuse me, something's in my throat. I'm losing something, maybe my mind, maybe my voice. I don't know. But I do feel like they've made some interesting choices there. I think Tyler Steen slows them down a little bit. So for a team that wants to run and protect their quarterback, I guess that makes a little bit more sense. It also makes them more deadly with the quarterback sneak thing that I don't think the league's going to really get out of here for another season at least. So the question becomes is are they going to double down on just trying to cram the run game down teams' throats? Swift, Gainwell, I think that's a possibility. So does that play into the Chiefs' likings? I think Jalen Hurts still blames himself for the Super Bowl loss, and that's fine.
Shouldn't.
I agree, but he does. And it also goes to show you that you can adapt even if you are a run team. If Jalen goes down, it's very much a similar situation to what happens if Patrick goes down for the Chiefs. If you have to miss games, you got to kind of roll those up as losses. The difference being that if you can rely on the run game, the question becomes, can Marcus Mariota or Tanner McKee, who you guys know from the draft cycle, I was huge on Tanner McKee, totally not like the other 2 guys in this scenario. Yeah. He cannot run forward for any gains, but he can throw that ball, and he's a smart dude. Any of those guys can win games with that run attack, I think. And that makes them dangerous just in case, in my opinion.
Yeah, I disagree a little bit on Tyler Steen. I think that he's a good spot for a guard. I think that he'll be good there. But regardless, they're in a good spot no matter what because that roster is just good. And I think that Rashad Penny is going to be a pain in the ass for a lot of defenses because he's a very good running back. And if he stays on the field, again, got to stay on the field, he's going to be a problem because that offensive line is still really, really good. And they do a great job of game planning each and every game, specifically to what a defense does not do well. If you go back and watch their games, that's what they do. They will spam plays. They will spam them and spam them and spam them. They're very good at that.
It's like we'd like Andy to listen to us and do that.
Yeah, right.
No, I agree with you. Like, it's going to be very hard for me to, when it comes down to prediction time, the week or so before the season, it's going to be very difficult for me to not say Chiefs Eagles again.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. From our newest member, Rob, how much input does Patrick get into the wide receivers such as D-Hop? And 2, at the onset of the AFC Championship game last year, they're 31st in the NFL for 3rd and 1 at only 50%. Can the Chiefs what can they do to fix it? That part is going to be interesting. I know he has input to the wide receiver position. He can say he wants D-Hop all he wants. It's the mechanics that Brent Tillis and Brett Veach have to go through that really determines it. But yes, I'm sure they said, hey, would you like to use this guy? And if he said no, then hey, no problem. I don't have to go spend $15 million. Great. But yeah, I think he has that. But second part, Dan, what can they do with the tackle situation? Is it more misdirection? Is it just more outside zone like we were talking before? Is there anything else they can do in the short yardage package in particular that you'd like to see?
Throw the ball. I don't know. Maybe a little bit more. You can run out of shotgun still. You can do some draw plays. Make a defense think you're going to throw the football and then hand it off. Like something a little bit different. I would like to see more draws out of shotgun. I think that would be a very good way to start. Even just five offensive linemen. Make them think you're spread them out 5 or 4 wide, and then do a draw play. Make the defense think you're going to throw the football. And actually do it sometimes because they're excellent throwing the football. Like Patrick Mahomes knows what he's doing now. We don't have to mess around with getting under center, getting in 22 personnel. The Chiefs don't have to do any of that anymore. They can throw it out on 3rd and short if they want to. They really don't need to do any of that. They can just line up in 13 or 11 personnel or 13, spread everybody out, and do whatever they want to. And not just make it so predictable whenever Patrick goes under center, bring in a fullback, and they're going to do a fullback dive coming at you. Or if they want to do it, it's right here. It's right here. They need to have the mentality that they're going to push this defensive line out of the way to get that 1 yard. I don't care how they have to do it. That's what it is.
Number one thing is the first 2 steps. You got to come off the ball like you mean it and move dudes out of the way. Bottom line. Kevin, with Pacheco banged up, why not pick up Kareem Hunt for insurance? He's apologized and paid his punishment, and he's all that we could afford. I don't know, man. It's like somebody. I can't say that this is it, but if somebody betrays me, they're out of my life. I don't let them back in. Maybe that's how Clark Hunt feels. I don't know. Maybe that's how Andy feels. I don't know. I can't tell you why. I just got to tell you, I don't think that it's ever in the cards because I think there is something there that's like personal at this point that they just don't trust the guy and don't want him back.
Yeah, I get it. Just don't worry about it. Just go on to one of the other aging running backs who can give you
7
games. Dalvin Cook.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's all cost versus reward, right?
Yeah, right.
Tom, long time no see. Nice to see you, buddy. Was out with major back surgery. Ooh,
wow.
I hope you're recovering well.
Hope you're doing well.
But happy to be back, excluding injuries. What would you keep the Chiefs from making the playoffs or the Super Bowl? In my opinion, the only thing that keeps Chiefs out of the Super Bowl is a catastrophic season-ending injury to Patrick Mahomes.
That's what I said, excluding injuries.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there is nothing. Unless Patrick has to miss the season, I don't see them missing the playoffs.
So, yeah, I don't think they're not making the playoffs. I think that there's nothing almost that they could do to not make the playoffs. To miss the Super Bowl, it would have to be. I just think that it would have to be, Patrick kind of being lulled into a trap again, almost like he was against the Bengals. I think he's gotten smarter than that, and last year kind of showed that they are. You'd have to catch a team on a heater, okay? If the Bills in 2021, if that team runs through the postseason again, that's a coin flip game. They could have very easily lost that game. That's the kind of team and the kind of way I could see them not making the Super Bowl. If you catch a team on fire, like where they can do no wrong on offense, that's pretty much all I can see them possibly losing, and they still won that game. So that tells you how unsurmountable it would have to be for them to not make it right now. And again, excluding injury, it's a team that's just everything's clicking.
Yeah. I will say this: there could be some complications getting to the Super Bowl if either a wide receiver 1 doesn't emerge, and he gets hurt. That could make things harder. That's for certain. An injury or a complete failure of one of the new offensive tackles could make things harder. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing that I think we all kind of like took a breath that they got the defensive front figured out and were able to attack and get to the quarterback again last year. What if that all fades away again? If that doesn't happen, they could be a lot harder road than we expect as well.
If the corners don't take a step.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing too. We expect a giant step from all the young players on defense. And, as we talk through it, it gets more clear that if the corners don't take a step forward, there's some problems there. I think they were better than given credit for because they're rookies. But now it's a little bit different. You've been to the mountaintop. You've won. You got to get better, and you have to keep improving. Otherwise, offenses will see what you did, how you were able to defend, and attack it. It's all about changing. It's all about adjusting. It's all about getting better.
Yeah, and it's continual. Wherever they are today is not where they're going to be at the end. So it does have to continue through the fall as well. Napoleon, welcome back. Red zone defense was really bad last year. What player additions will help that? And is there anything else that they can do to improve in that area? They can be more aggressive in the red zone, in my opinion, from the linebacker level. But the thing that I think is really going to help is the different personnel. I'm really intrigued. Red zone, what they do when they move a Menahue inside next to Chris Jones, and the two of them can attack the V gaps together. Maybe they do some stunning and some slanting, and they do get into the A's, but I think you want the linebackers to cover the A's and just come downhill and let those guys penetrate. And I think Menahue's going to surprise some people about how good he is inside rather than outside.
Yeah, I think tackling is the biggest thing. They got to pressure the quarterback quite a bit, kind of fall off some tackles, and you had some misassignments early that really was to their detriment. I think that's something else too.
Patrick, now that we're getting 2 rings with Mahomes, is it Super Bowl or bust every year, or is a playoff team good enough? I'll tell you this: it's Super Bowl or bust every single year, unless you get to that point where Travis Kelce retires or Chris Jones retires, and the youth hasn't grown up to replace it. Those are the 2 big obstacles that I can see. Everything else can be dealt with, in my opinion, but if one of those 2 guys ends his career, and I do think they will both be here in Kansas City until their careers end, but you don't have the impact player to then take over, those are the 2 tripping points I see.
Yeah, and I just think that for me, it's AFC Championship or bust. I know that it's always Super Bowl or bust, but at the end of the day, that they're going to be around that. And if you don't get to it, at least the championship game, like there's some questions need to be asked.
Agreed. WNMB, why do teams occasionally drop edge rushers into coverage? Is it just to free up a corner to blitz? Not necessarily a corner. It's called replacement. Especially in zone type blitzing, you want to drop a guy out to replace an area that he can get to that allows you to send somebody from somewhere else. Sometimes it's the total opposite side of the field. I do like the edge for inside linebacker trades. Those go really well, in my opinion. There are some times where you just want to stack an overload, where you're going to slant everybody away and you're going to drop them anyway, even though you're not sending a blitz in particular. It's just another way to keep offenses on their toes and do something they don't expect. That's where Joe Cullen and Steve Spagnuolo come in.
Yeah, typically it's that in passing lane kind of thing. Like you want to see them just kind of get their hands up. You see it a lot with younger quarterbacks where you'll see a defensive end drop and then they'll throw it right to them. They don't expect them to drop, and they just get it. Like, right. You see a couple of interceptions. Aiden Hutchinson had a couple of them for the Lions last year. Drop them into coverage, and quarterbacks just don't see it happening. It's shock value.
Yeah, you got to. And he also wants to know: did you see the trophies at Whiteman?
I didn't even know they were here. Honestly, no one told me. I had no idea that they were here, so I didn't get to. I'm very upset. And this is not the first time I've been reminded. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying I'm a little hurt.
I'm sorry. I had no idea either if it makes you feel any better.
Yeah, well, you're in Colorado. I would expect this. So,
Teddy, thanks for the support, pal. Why is everyone automatically elevating KT to wide receiver 1 over Sky? Personally, I think 24 has a better chance to end up as the top guy. I can understand why you'd make that argument because, honestly, in terms of consistent production, you could make the argument pretty easily. I'll tell you the reason is because Brett Veach himself has said that we feel Toney can be our number 1. He has said it 3 times by my count this offseason. I don't know if he's trying to speak it into existence or if they're just truly sold on it. But either way, Teddy, that's why folks are doubling down on it.
He came over and was immediately impactful.
Yeah.
They traded for him. He didn't know the playbook. He was immediately impactful. They feel comfortable with him getting a lot of touches. They want him to get a lot of touches. That's just kind of how it works, man. I understand it, though. I get it. Sky Moore could be a PPR, like a fantasy football PPR machine this year. He really could be. Just tons and tons of receptions.
Well, and Marshall's point comes in here too. Nice to see you, Marshall. I feel Toney's wide receiver potential is going under the radar. Through 19 games, he's on similar pace to Hill's first season. Second year in Reed's offense can be a big deal. His tape is unreal. You're absolutely right. It's about those flashes and what he can be, especially now that he's I think we underrate sometimes because we all know the trade deadline's coming, right?
Yeah.
We underrate just how difficult it is to make that jump. Yes, there's some similarities coming from Kafka's offense, but it's not walk in and you know everything. So I agree with you, Marshall. Like there's a jump in there.
And he was learning that offense last year from a different offense the year before. So, I mean, there's a lot of new offenses he's had to learn. And I think the big thing for Toney specifically is just he needs to stop putting all of his weight on the plant foot. Every time you see him trying to juke somebody out, he puts everything he can into that outstretched foot, and then he gets hurt. Like, just try to Luke, I don't know anything about it. You know your body better than I do, but just give it a little toe tap, a little juke here and there, a little side step here. Don't just plant on that foot and ankle and then try to get around everybody.
Learn the rumba. Seriously, just move your hips because guys are trying to wrap you up at the hips. Yeah, you can do it. Marshall, thank you. Night Hunter, thank you. Projections for running backs this season. Who ends up the workhorse, and will McKinnon once again be a machine? Yes. I'm not sure what SNG means, so you'll have to elaborate.
I think snag machine is more what that was going for.
Okay. Gotcha. Go ahead. How do you see it breaking down?
Oh, it's tough, man. I was on 8:10 this afternoon with Sterling. And if Pacheco's healthy and he starts the season relatively healthy, I think 900 to 1,000 plus yards is well within reach for him, and 10 to 12 touchdowns. Easy. I think he can get double-digit touchdowns in this offense quite easy just because of the way defenses are playing him. But again, if he's not healthy to start the season, things change. I think Clyde's going to end up being your quote-unquote number one, the guy who's the 1 and 2 down with McKinnon playing a little bit more. I still think that Clyde can be a useful player in this offense and be an efficient player. I think that's the big thing for him now. It's not necessarily coming out and having a huge number season. It's being efficient. When you're out there, have an impact. When they're targeted, catch the football, make something happen. When you get a carry, get 4 to 5 yards. Okay, just find a way to be impactful. And I could see him getting to, it depends on his usage, but 300-ish yards on the ground if Pacheco is that workhorse guy-ish on first and second down. And I think Clyde could be a 30, 35, 40 pass catcher, receiving back if they want to save McKinnon. I think he can easily do that.
And I do think McKinnon will grab a bunch of passes. Yeah. I don't think he gets 9 touchdowns, but I think he probably gets another 4, something like that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Night Hunter. Appreciate you.
A lot of involvement.
Tom, appreciate you. What's up? Are you booked tomorrow? No, we are not. We lost one of our guitar players. He's got a hand issue, so we haven't actually booked out. We played a casino back in March. We actually have been taking a kind of a break this year just to let our guys kind of recover. We're all getting a little bit older. So take a little bit easy. July in the sun is not our favorite thing. So no, but Tom, let us know where you're playing if you're out and about tomorrow. I would love to know as well. So, and I think I've been asked by a couple of people to re-record some of my demos, and I'll probably put them out on the band's channel. If you guys haven't seen the Candy Creek YouTube channel, Candy Creek Band, you can go find us. It's pretty simple. There's only a few videos out there, but I might be putting some stuff up there this year. So we'll find out.
There you go.
Biz, I hope all is well, as with you. So far, how far up the ranking will our linebacker core go? Where can they get to?
I think they can get to – I know that they're ranked different places differently. I think they can get to top 6. Okay? Like, in my opinion, in a top 6 linebacking unit this season. I think Drew Tranquill is the key to that. I think we know kind of what Willie Gay and Nick Bolton are going to provide. That coverage linebacker can take them to the next level. It really can.
Yeah. So here's the thing. You have 2 100 tackle guys on this roster now. So if you're talking about making stops in between tackles, certainly, but making stops in the run game, in the short pass game, they can be elite. I agree with you. They can be top 6. If you're talking about overall like completion percentage or yards per pass given up, that remains to be seen because it for me, it depends on the balance of where Tranquill is and whether Willie's out there too. I think they can get into the top 10 in that category, but it very much is a delineation about what we're talking about.
Absolutely. I agree.
Steve, is the difference between high school football and college More talent based versus technique. What's the difference between college and NFL? It's a series of things. Go ahead.
Well, as far as I understand it, from my own personal high school football experience, I was not taught anything because I played in Michigan and no one really cared about teaching people football technically. Okay. They didn't really know what they were doing. But schools at high school that are known for recruiting, for doing all that, they are taught technique and they are taught talent. They have talent. So the jump from high school to college is that you're playing all the best players in high school at the college level now, and all the best athletes in high school from all around the country in college now. That's what you're doing. And it's the same thing from college to the NFL. You're playing the very, very best athletes, the very, very best technicians, and the very, very most intelligent players from college in the NFL. So it's the technique stuff can get taught at college level, but you really see a lot of the guys who are figuring it out. The technique hits home in the NFL. Like if you have it in college, that's fantastic. If you don't, you're going to learn it more in the NFL. They're going to hone all of the technique and stuff you have in the NFL level too.
I think you said that very well. The big difference is you can get by in college by being an elite high school athlete and not knowing what the hell you're doing. It happens every year. It's going to continue to happen. Ask Malik Willis. Guys that have physical talent get brought up and posted into the NFL who don't have the mental experience, the visual experience to understand what they're doing. They can still make it. Malik Willis may become a quality quarterback, but he's got learning to do. That's the big thing. And it's not just technique, it's concept as well, especially when you're talking about offensive football.
Yeah.
On the defensive side, it's about understanding how you're being attacked. It's about recognition and instinct more. And those things take time to hone as well. But in the end, nobody plays in the NFL without being an elite high school athlete. That's the minimum. So
tape
it's a bit of
matters more in the NFL than anywhere else. Matters more.
Yeah. What's the favorite position group that isn't quarterback and why? Thanks for being the best Chiefs channel out there on YouTube. You are awesome. Thank you, Jason. We appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Jason.
If you just got to pick somebody, like if you're just going to watch a position group, what do you like the most? What's your favorite?
So on offense, it's running back. I love watching running backs. It's been my favorite since I was a kid. I always wanted to be a running back, and then I grew up to be 6'5". That just wasn't going to happen. And on defense, I love defensive end play. I love watching the best edge rushers in the NFL. Speaking of the best edge rushers, if you guys go over to the NFL33.com right now, you can watch and listen to JP and myself. You guys don't know JP Acosta. I had him on the channel last year for the pre-Jags game. He works for SB Nation. He's fantastic. He's like 10 years younger than me, which is irritating enough in and of itself.
Shut up.
But it's a fantastic conversation about the top 10 that we have at the edge rushing position right now. It was such a fun thing to do. And it just reaffirmed that I love watching the edge rushers at the NFL.
There you go. Should you tell me I'm double his age is what you're telling me?
Yeah,
that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I think he's 24, but you know.
Good God. I'm gonna cry. Okay, fine, whatever. I'll tell you, my favorite is pretty simple. It's tight ends and linebackers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I love fullbacks. You know, I played that position. I played linebacker in college too, so like you can see why. But it was the tight ends that always ran away from me that gave me the most guff. So I enjoy watching that as well. So just couldn't keep up. Tim, do you see any teams going press man and putting a lot of pressure on Mahomes without proven receivers? I do see some that are willing to take that chance. I think the Bengals will be one of them. I think the Jets certainly will be one of them. And I think the Dolphins might. But it's not because of the receivers. It's because they want to test the tackles. In my opinion, I feel like they can put guys in press, bring an extra blitzer, or just, you know, bring a 5-man rush to begin with, depending on the team. But I think it's to test the offensive line. Now, I don't think the receivers scare them enough. That's a good point, Tim. But I don't think that they're like okay with it because of the receivers, because there's 3-4 guys that are four sub, you know, that can run away from. Yeah,
they're still going to see a lot of man coverage. They saw a lot of man coverage early last year. They saw quite a bit of it throughout the playoffs, because that's the one way you hope to be able to get after Patrick Mahomes, is to maybe throw off the timing a little bit. It doesn't really matter all that much. So I'm with you. It's more to test the tackles and to see if they can get after him or not.
Yeah. Joseph, great question. Do you think that the Chiefs-Bills AFC Championship game will be the game of Mahomes' career? I mean, they don't call him Reaper for nothing. That ain't going away.
It's so I don't know if it. We have a lot of writing to do about Patrick Mahomes. Like, there's a long time of football to watch for him. That game, I will always remember that game. Always. The emotional ups and downs, the back and forth, the getting into overtime. No, the 13 seconds, the getting to overtime, them going down and scoring. It was an incredible football game. And it wouldn't surprise me if that was one of the best, if not the best game that I think that they've ever played in terms of offense. Defense, throw it out the window.
Dan, are you a Pistons fan?
I am a Pistons fan. And
Are you
obviously
a
the
Lambeer
04. Huh?
Are you a Lambeer fan?
Don't know who that is.
Are you kidding me? Okay. Anyway, that's like Isaiah days of the Pistons back when
I wasn't old enough to watch the Isaiah.
I know, it's nostalgia for you. Stop. Good God, is everything meant to make me feel old tonight?
No, I'm an 04 team. The 04 Pistons that obviously won. You had both the Wallaces, you had Rip Hamilton, you had Chauncey Billups, and you had Tayshaun Prince. Like, they were great. I love that team.
Yeah, fair enough. You can't really argue with it. Feels like we're on Chiefs football lockdown. I like that, Tom. Are we going to be better shape at left tackle without OBJ? And who do you think with the most starts or lands it full time? Thanks again for the support, Tom. I think it's going to be close. Orlando had a great playoff run. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But he allowed a crap ton of pressure. I think the regular season that Donovan Smith will win that job, in my opinion, and I think we'll be better off. We'll have less pressure on Mahomes from that position this year.
Yeah, I was very adamant that Juwan Taylor will still be in the running, but I'm no longer on that side of the train. I'm just on the side of the tracks. I do think that Juwan Taylor will be your right tackle, and Donovan Smith will be healthy. He'll be better because he's healthy, and he'll win that left tackle job.
Rock on. Thank you, Tom. Scott, thank you. Considering none of the great 90s Chiefs ever won a Super Bowl, do you believe the Chiefs era would have won a Super Bowl, then vice versa? Do you believe this Chiefs era would have won a Super Bowl and vice versa? It's a fun one. It is, Scott. I don't know that Patrick Mahomes would get an average of 8 possessions a game if he was playing in the 90s. I think defenses were so stout and they ran the ball so much. He may have only had 6 or 7 opportunities. Would that have been enough to win a Super Bowl then? Possibly. My guess is they'd have gotten beat to snot and they would not have been able to sustain it.
I want to believe that Patrick would have gotten opportunities, but I have read a book by Jason Reed of ESPN about the history of the black quarterback position, and it is not rife with them getting very many opportunities to prove themselves. Even in the 90s would have been an uphill battle for Patrick Mahomes. You had Randall Cunningham, you had Dante Culpepper, and guys that, Warren Moon, guys that did blaze that trail, but they weren't given the keys to the offense. Like, they just weren't like saying, go win us the Super Bowl. Like, it was like, you're going to build it off the run game and we're going to throw the football because of it. And Patrick is best because he's like, yo, here you go. You do something cool. You got to do. You take that Lambo and you just like do a couple donuts in the backfield here and figure something out. He's got that room to do it. So it's a little bit, it's more of I wish it would happen. I don't know.
I'm with you. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you. Quick answers, Dan. What's your schedule for smoking a half brisket?
All right.
What's been your go-to crap?
My best one has not been I haven't gotten the top of it to be as moist as I want yet. So I just kind of go for 8 or 9 hours. I spray it for 45 minutes. And if it's still looking to need a little bit at the end, especially for half brisket, you got to you gotta wrap it early. That's the big thing.
I want to see all of her arms. So Miss Avery is here tonight, doing her best. Hi. This is the start of the show, folks. We can all go home now. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. And Dylan, my go-to craft beer this year has been Crooked Staves Mojito Sour. It's easy drinking. It's great. What do you think of JT Sanders out of Texas? Haven't watched him yet. And I will give you my top 20 college players here just before the college season kicks off. I am working on that too. So be prepared. That'll be on NFL 33. So go get subbed over there.
Sorry, y'all. I have to got to go take care of this one here. So appreciate everybody. I do apologize for having to knock out of here at the hour mark. But as you all know, being a father has its trials, tribulations, and fun. So I appreciate all of you. I will be back with my video on Wednesday. Again, be prepared for some apologies. They're deserved. They're well earned. And you guys should also do the same as I am. I appreciate, again, I say it a lot, but I appreciate you guys very much. And we'll be back.
Thank you, Dan. Have a great 4th. Night, Miss Avery.
All of you too.
All right, folks, we'll wrap it up here and I'll get through your questions. And Brett, I will be dropping my top 20, maybe even top 32. I don't know. I'll see how far I get. That'll be on NFL 33, so you can go sub over there. How much will we miss McColl? Steve, that's a good question. And I honestly don't know that we're going to, because I do think there's enough speed from Kadarius and Sky that we'll let Rashid do the kind of underneath that doesn't require speed. I think we're going to see the speed come out, and we're going to see some more length as well. So I think, honestly, every now and then we'll see a glimpse when somebody gets caught from behind, but I don't think it's going to be a lot. Jason, what teams do you think will make the playoffs this year on an educated guess due to the offseason? I think really the main competition for the Chiefs in the AFC are the Bengals, Bills, and probably the Ravens. Let's be real. I think the Ravens are going to be ahead of the Browns and probably the Steelers. They put together a good team with Lamar. If Lamar comes back and is Lamar, I think he's going to surprise some people. They're being counted out a lot. On the NFC side, I think it's the Eagles and Niners. They're the only teams that I'm confronted with. So that's my thought. Dez, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. What do you think of Mahomes' peak is in terms of his prime, and how much better can he actually get? Oh, man. What is his peak? I think his peak will get to the point when he hits Peyton's level of pre-snap manipulation and identification. I don't think he's there yet. He's come a long way, but he's still got room to improve there pre-snap and knowing just how to surgically tear apart a defense. He's very good at making it up and making excellent plays. It's when he doesn't have to, when he's thought it through to make that play, that I think he will hit his peak. And I think we're probably 3 seasons out from that. When he hits 30, unlike most players in this league, and certainly a good deal of the quarterbacks, I think Patrick Mahomes will be peaking and getting to that still when he gets over 30. So let's look forward to it because it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks, Des. Cole, offseason favorite move. Favorite offseason move and why? Okay. I'm not sure if this was meant for me, but hey. My favorite offseason move was probably the acquisition of Amenahue, because I think it just opens up the defensive possibilities. That's probably it. I don't know. I'm really intrigued by Rashee Rice too, though, so let's keep that on board. Keaton, thank you for the support, pal. I know we're over time, folks. We're going to wrap up. As I always promise, every Super Chat gets an answer. We're going to finish those guys up right now. Des had another. What's the realistic expectation of how we will see Rice used this year? My realistic expectation is that it's going to be pretty sporadic in the first quarter, 5 games or so of the season. And then it's going to start to come on. And then by the time you get to the bye week is when you're going to see him actually start to be a focus point where they know they're going to drive off coverage and he's going to have opportunities inside in particular. I love him on the low drags. That 8 to 12 yard range, I think, is going to be a place where he makes his money. But I think it's going to take a bit. The transition is real in this offense, and I do think we have to give him a little bit of time to get there, but I'm super confident. I'm really intrigued by what he's bringing. Thank you, Des. Thank you, Jake. Outside of Mahomes, Kelsey, and CJ, are the most crucial pieces of the team. Agree. And a significant concern that through the draft, we haven't found their replacements. A little bit. That's what I was kind of hinting at before as well. Like, it's to this point where those guys are going to retire eventually, and you got to be able to replace them with talent that can be a game changer. No one's going to be the same kind of player, but you still have to be able to attack and replace them with some talent. And so far, that isn't here. Kendrick Coburn is not a Chris Jones kind of player. He can be very good, but he's not that level of player or that type. And obviously, Travis Kelce is everyone's throwing the unicorn term out lately, but he is unique. Replacing him is going to have to be very, very difficult. And they don't have a guy yet. So they're going to keep hunting. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate you as always. Cole, glad you got your rings. I'd be really interested to see how you like them. And let everybody know where you got them, because I might be looking for some myself. Gary, thank you. Is this team this year's, will Reed and Mahomes be this year's best of the 3 past Super Bowl teams? That's a great question. I think that they're going to have a little bit more balance this year, and they might be able to be a little bit more dominant. And so when we look back in terms of point spread, et cetera, I think they have the possibility to do that. If things come together the way the plan is designed, I think they could be. We just got to see if it steps through that way. Dub Freak, hope you're doing good. Hi, guys. Do you think moving forward that we can afford the big inside 3 of the O-line once Creed and Trey come up for contract renewal? And that is a great question. I'm glad you're thinking ahead. That is something that we have to look at down the line. And I think it can be worked. We're looking at probably a $30 million jump in the cap next year and probably $40 million the year after that. So there's room. And we also have to understand that on the offensive side of the ball, especially now that there's no fullback, the center and the right guard are the cheapest 2 positions on an offensive line, without fail. So I think that they're in good position to give those guys a reasonable contract that they can be happy with, and they don't have to break the bank. So I do feel that, like, that is sustainable. It's not something that I think we have to be too worried about, going out on a limb for. So let's hope that it stays that way. I'm trying to see if there's any other last pass here for questions that I haven't been able to answer yet. And let's see, we talked about Tranquil. Cole had something there. Yes, Cole, he is a hybrid. He can do a little bit of everything. I do like that. And then, okay. And man, that's a cluster. I don't know if I can get into that one very succinctly tonight, but let me finish these last couple up. Thank you, Dub Freak. Appreciate you. Tom, appreciate you, of course. While I'm playing with my artist, Cute and Clay at Birdsong Marina in Camden, Tennessee. Nice. I like it. Benefit for the local water-based fire department. Awesome. On the Tennessee River. I have done that. I have played on a barge once. That is a challenge, and I hope you have a great time, folks. If you're anywhere near Camden, get out to see Tom and his band. Tom, put it in the chat, too. There's got to be somebody from Tennessee around in here tonight. Appreciate you, buddy. Rob, we'll see. Will Chris Jones allow his contract to be a catalyst for room for D-Hop? And is Patrick going to hamstring us with the salary cap in the future? I do think that he will structure it in a way, and it's going to be structure that Chris Jones will agree to that allows them to have other room for D-Hop or whatever else that they want to do. But he's still going to get his. This is going to be his last major contract at his age. So he's got to get paid, and no one's going to hold that against him, and no one should, because this is the way that it goes, especially for defensive linemen. But he will agree to a structure that helps the Chiefs out. I am firmly set there. And will he take a total discount? Possibly. Will he allow them to put something in years that maybe, a 5th season that he won't see? I think he probably will. I think he wants to win as much as Patrick Mahomes does. So I do think that. And no, I don't think Patrick's contract's going to hamstring them in any way. He will continue to do this thing so that he gets paid and he allows his contract to be rolled so they can get more talent onto the roster for the future. I firmly believe that as well. And last question tonight, folks, like, sub, hit that bell, check out the RGR store. To all of our new members, including Rob, welcome, and go get signed up there so you can get into the Discord, because it's about to start getting hot here once camp opens. Cole said, speaking of ESPN, what do you think about all the layoffs? And I just want to say this. that I feel for those folks that are going through it. I've been laid off multiple times in my careers, in both media and in my day job, and it's tough. I'm surprised by it, but it is clearly a cost of the economy at this point, that it's all the folks that make a ton of money that are generally being let go. There's a few others, but it's not common. And I will tell you this, it does allow for us as consumers of the media at large, it does allow for better content because it loosens up the reins some. Susie Colbert is going to be great wherever she goes. I think she'll actually be able to do something new. I wasn't a big fan of Kay going to FanDuel for whatever they're doing. Susie Colbert's going to have a platform on some other sports-oriented show that I think she already did a great job with, and they will be able to expand and do things a little bit looser, be a little more honest. Present a point of view that isn't so in sync with the NFL itself. And I think that's a plus. It does worry me, though, about the quality of journalism going forward. Old-fashioned, real journalism, research, and people who know the sport. There's a lot of people on this platform, on blogs around the country, who purport themselves to be, as a blogger, to be a journalist, and that just ain't the case. There's something to be said for not just educated, not mean that you had to go to school to be a journalist, but in that vein of working the real thing, to produce facts, to analyze succinctly and not let fandom into it. And I think some of that's been lost over the last years. There's some talented people that are going to be freed up to do some new things, and I'm kind of excited about that. But at the same time, I understand where they're going through some troubles, and I feel for them personally when they get out there. So that's me tonight. I hope that you guys have a great time. I had a great time, and I'm sure Dan's having whatever he's having with Avery. So like, sub, hit that bell. You can check out the Locked On Chiefs show today. That's coming up and should be released here very shortly. So thanks for your time. Have a great and safe July 4th. Thank you for all that have served, and that we should celebrate them tomorrow as well. I will be out doing that. Gary will have a piece for you because he's already recorded it. So I'll make sure to get that posted. And then we'll be back to our normal schedule as we provide. I'm going to go on vacation next week, but we have stuff ready for you. So have a great 4th of July. Enjoy the fireworks. I'll probably post something to the tech channel that'll have the fireworks on it. So check that out as well. I'll try to put that on Twitter if Twitter ever lets me back in. Thank you, Elon. Can't even read my dang Twitter anymore. Have a great night. I'm going to complain somewhere else. We'll talk to you tomorrow.